watch.
There was also a situation that unfolded just as you guys were signing off of the air. It involved the world's #1 golfer, Tiger Woods, who was assessed a 2-shot penalty when his golf ball moved while he was trying to remove loose impediments that were around it on the very first hole. Let's take a look at this video. Here he is on his second shot. He found the fairway off the tee. This one headed way left from 147 yards from the fairway into a wooded area. He airmails the green. Ball bounces into the trees, and while in the trees, he tries to remove some loose impediments. We've got some great camera work here, captured by a videographer who works for PGA Tour Entertainment. You can see the ball shifts. Pretty clear-cut video. And we provided you with a couple of great looks there. The ball does not return to its original position. Woods is penalized under Rule 18-2A. Here's Slugger White of the PGA Tour.
He knew there was movement there, but it's like it was very adamant about that it oscillated and stayed there. But this video was at the side, and the ball did in fact move. So in that situation, had he put the ball back, it'd been a 1-stroke penalty. He didn't, so he gets a 2-stroke penalty. So I had him look before he signed. He signed his card, but told him not to turn it in until I talked to him. And he looked at it and clearly, felt like the ball just oscillated, and it's pretty clear that the ball did move.
And a head-scratching pattern in 2013, Tiger and rules infractions. Abu Dhabi, January of this year, he determines with playing competitor Martin Kaymer the ball is embedded, and he takes a free drop. The ball, however, was embedded in a sandy area, which is not included within Rule 25-2. Woods shouldn't have taken free relief and was penalized 2 shots back in April at the Masters. 15th hole, second round. The world is watching. It hits the flagstick and spins back into the water. In a post-round interview, Woods said that he moved back 2 yards before taking the drop. Woods violated Rule 26-1A, which states that the ball must be dropped as nearly as possible to the original spot. Officials penalized him 2 shots for the incorrect drop. He was not disqualified for signing an incorrect scorecard. Back in May, in the Players' final round, Tiger pulls his tee shot on 14 into the lateral hazard. He best determined with playing partner Casey Wittenberg where the ball crossed the hazard line. Took a drop, completed the hole. Many speculated the drop was taken improperly. However, tour officials stated that without definitive evidence, you must trust the judgment of the player and his competitor. So Woods' next shot coming from 255 yards from the hole. Yesterday at the BMW Championship, Tiger's approach to the first ends up in that wooded area. While moving loose impediments, his golf ball shifts. Tiger believes the ball oscillated. Video proves that the ball indeed moves, and he was penalized under Rule 18-2A, which states if the ball is moved, the player must replace it and incur a 1-stroke penalty. Tiger did not replace his ball, which results in a 2-stroke penalty under Rule 18-2A. I think really what we're seeing here is a mind-boggling pattern this season. How do you guys explain a man who previously had what seemed to be an impeccable record in the rules department have this many infractions in a single season? Kurt?
Well, I think to start with, there's a little bit of a lack of knowledge of the rule book, period, out of Tiger. I think he should know the rules better. I will say this about Abu Dhabi, though. I didn't know that rule. A ball buried, out there in the sand, I didn't know that rule myself. But the one at the Masters, I think everybody knows that. We've all been taught nearest possible from where you played that last shot. So, the deal yesterday, I have a real problem with that one. It's obvious. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. Okay, if I'm looking straight down on the ball, maybe it's a different angle because the video angle is from the side. So maybe he just, but when he saw it, so then when you go talk to Slugger and you see it on the monitor, and Slugger says, did you see it move? And he says, no, it's still oscillating. Now I really have a problem with that because it was really obvious when you looked at that video that it moved. He should have just said, oh, wow, it moved. Give me the 2 shots. I'm out of here.
Yeah, it is hard to explain, what's happened this year. It's a disturbing pattern. There's no two ways about that. But when I think you look at the course of what's happened this year, most of them involved a third party. Martin Kaymer, who he played along with in Abu Dhabi, former world #1. Neither one of them knew the rules. What happened at Augusta really was incumbent of the rules committee at Augusta. They were notified about the infringement on 15. Tiger himself actually got himself into trouble with the post-round interview with Rinaldi, saying that, well, I took it 2 yards further back. So obviously he broke that rule. This one really is about him. And the video, you're right, it's conclusive. And last night I was out with dinner with friends last night, and I was watching it on a cell phone through YouTube. We had to watch it about 3 times, and you could just see some movement. I'm not aware of what he saw it on, because I think that does make a little bit of a difference. When you see the enhanced video, it's quite amazing. It's very, very obvious that the ball moves, but we're seeing it blown up. Now, I'm curious, if Tiger Woods was to see that with Slugger White, would he even hesitate to say, well, forget oscillating, yeah, it moved? I'd like to see, Brandon, I'm curious on your opinion too, in the next 24 hours, if his camp would actually get ahead of that and say, we've seen it, it's inconclusive, there's no question that ball moved. I'd actually like to see that within the next day.
There are so many things that are damning about this video. If you just consider what Tiger said when he was ultimately questioned about it, that it did oscillate in his opinion. And if he had that opinion, then why didn't he come out of the woods and tell his playing companions, I think my ball oscillated? I'm not sure if amongst all of these people that are around here, any of them have video, because it's very likely to all of us, and certainly to Tiger, that's conceivable, that perhaps I'll need to see that later. There were 2 examples yesterday in golf, NB Park at Evian, who called a penalty on herself when nobody saw the ball move on the putting green, but she did, and she insisted. And then yesterday here on the 9th hole, Sang Moon Bae had a very short putt on the 9th hole. His ball moved. Nobody saw it. He called an official over. There are so many examples in golf every single day. 99% of them don't get reported, of players doing the right thing. And this is an example of a player doing the wrong thing in many different instances. Clearly it moved. He had a reference point. He could have stelled from the top. There was mud there. I think his Nike emblem was on the top. He had reference points to clearly denote whether this ball moved or not.
For anyone who might be confused between the difference in a ball oscillating and a ball moving fractionally, can you help us out, Frank?
Yeah, I actually have a Nike ball here to show. You'll notice that there's a blank area here, and I think that's what Brandon's referring to. If it was blank, it might have been different. But on top of that, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to swivel it so we have a reference point. You can just see this area here that says 20xi with some arrows on it. A ball that oscillates moves in a pendulum fashion, so it might move to the right, to the left, but it has to come back to its point of origin. Therefore, it's deemed not to have moved. And obviously, we know what a moving ball is. It just keeps going. But it's a tough one. It's a head scratcher. When we look at it, like when I looked at it this morning, and Kurt, Brandon, I know you're the same, there's no question that ball moves. There's no question.
My only other problem with it is usually there's almost this unwritten rule among tour players. When there's any doubt at all, they call a penalty on themselves. It's just like, I'm not sure, so I'm going to call the penalty on myself.
Well, obviously, these guys have spent years in PGA Tour locker rooms, and they understand that when situations like this happen, there is talk amongst the players. What are Tiger Woods' fellow competitors saying? For that, we join Todd Lewis and our insider, Tim Rosefort. Guys?
Kelly, thank you very much. And Tim and I were walking up and down the range talking to players prior to the 3rd round of the BMW Championship. 2 topics to talk about. One, of course, Jim Furyk's great 59 yesterday, and Tiger Woods and that rules infraction. In regards to Tiger, Tim, what have you heard from the players?
I'd use the word discomfort to characterize the reaction I got. Because, well, Tiger Woods is the most powerful player in the game and arguably in the world of sports, in that he is held to a higher standard, and obviously every eyeball is on him. But I think the discomfort is really not about what happened in the woods behind the first green, but really more so the reaction with Slugger White when they looked at the video and Tiger maintaining that the ball oscillated, and the video clearly showing that it did not oscillate, that it rotated and didn't return to its original spot. That caused several players to raise their eyebrows, one telling me that there's a concern that the more this happens, and this is the 3rd time this year, the more this is going to stick to Tiger. 2, there's this general reaction by the sports public on Twitter that it's not that big a deal, it only moved a little bit, why call a penalty? Well, as one player said, that's like saying I only missed a putt by a little bit. And then finally, there's this general sense of that this is unfair to Tiger, because he's really the only one who has a camera follow him into the woods. And this is actually a subject that has been discussed, as you know, by the Player Advisory Council. There has been no resolution to it, though. to this point.
It was interesting. The players that I talked to, they don't think that Tiger may have deliberately broke the rule. They don't want to speculate. We want to give them the benefit of the doubt. But they did say, in regards to that instance, that when you have a loose impediment around your ball, you could be focusing on the impediment that you don't see the ball move. However, several players did say, because you want to caution against an infraction with the ball movement, you should be focusing on that golf ball. Regardless, we hopefully will hear from Tiger Woods today at some point, and he will address this situation. Kelly?
Tiger Woods, with that two-stroke penalty, falls down the leaderboard outside the top 10 and draws a Saturday pairing with Sergio Garcia, both men at 4 under par, and they will tee off at 12:50 Eastern Time.